Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Anime Night in the Dojo. Today's featured show, Gachiakuta, Season 1.
Yep, Gachiakuta, Season 1, Episode 12. Welcome back to the dojo. I'm Ryu. That's Age. We're back for more Anime Night in the dojo. And well, last week we got Amo stuff, and we're probably going to continue getting more Amo stuff because of certain things we've heard about a certain guy who could potentially rival Shao Tucker. I'll believe it when I see it. But, some of these sources were credible. We just talked about credible sources in Dandadan. We'll just have to see. Some stuff is overhyped. Just have to see. But once again, I doubt this guy comes close to Jonas Venture Sr. So, Anyway, it will be interesting to see what her backstory is, how she became the way she is. We'll probably get more of that. Like what the deal is with her power. More of her, her series item. Something for the super, probably far future is do all these series items that are potentially associated with Rudo's dad. Are they like set bonus? Like if you are all of them, do you become Superman? You know what I mean? So it'll be interesting to see if there's something like that. Like if you are all of them, then are you like the ultimate giver? Can you just do whatever? Are you just like Jesus or what? So that's probably a far future thing. But so far, we have Rudo has the gloves. Amo has the boots, and then the leader of the Raiders has like chest piece or cape or back piece or shoulders, something, you know what I mean, whatever. So we'll just have to see what the deal is with those as the series progresses. But either way, lots of interesting powers were revealed last week. We got left on the one guy from the other team who looks like he has some sort of deadlier instrument, potentially. We'll just have to see what his item is.
Like I said, it looks like a spool of some sort.
Yeah. So it will be interesting to see what that is. Rio's backstory is probably on the table based on how she's reacting to certain things. Backstory at some point, as with the big guy. We'll see what is going on with him as well, like who his loved one is, that kind of deal. So a bunch of stuff being seeded, that kind of thing. But again, just because you have happy memories with someone doesn't necessarily mean it turned out well. And Amo is probably going to get punched the more she brings up Chiwa to Rudo. I mean, so yeah, it's just one of those things. So we're going to push some buttons and get going here. So people on Patreon will see you in a second here. And people on YouTube, as always, we'll see you on the other side of the edit for you guys on YouTube for the review and discussion. If you're looking for the reaction, as always, it's down there in the description. And or just go to my Patreon page that's somewhere on the YouTube page here. And there's a nice list that you can just use the search bar and find what you're looking for. It's all there. So we're going to push some buttons and get going here. So here goes something. Alrighty then. Age pretty much nailed it on the whole thread thing. Like I said, 2.5, 3 years from now, Domse versus Genist in death battle, and they're going to get it wrong again, I'm sure. Obviously, we don't have a lot of information on the rest of what his power is capable of, but just based on this small bit of him showing off his power, I'd say he's probably on par with Genist from MJ. Bare minimum. So, either way, we love to throw shade at Death Battle. I do enjoy them, but man, have they been wrong a lot recently. And it's not even just like a subjective, my favorite character. No, their research team is making questionable polls and calls, and you look at it and go, so they use this, but not this, and then they use it, and a lot of their matchups are more of the characters that are similar, not what just looking at something that would be an actual close, interesting fight. You know what I mean? Like, say, Toph versus Gaara. That's a non-fight. You know what I mean? It's a Toph counter is literally a hard counter for Gaara. And that was one of the first ones where I just looked at it and go, why are we even doing this? Gaara can do nothing to Toph. You know what I mean? This isn't a fight. This is just Toph going, so you're a sandbender. Get off my bus. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things where we appreciate everything Death Battle has done for internet culture and stuff like that, but especially in the last couple of years, it's some of this stuff, and it's just like, even like the especially like how they've like always teased like the Ruby versus Maka, like Ruby Rose from Ruby and then Maka from Soul Eater. That's a non-fight too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things like, oh man, they're two scythe wielders. Yeah, you could have put like Ruby against like some other scythe wielder that she had a chance against, or a more interesting scythe wielder opponent for Maka. You know what I mean? Because it's just not there.
The main reason the main reason people wanted that one was just because of the fact that Maka was a big inspiration for Ruby.
Right.
The character. Freaking Monty had stated that on a number of occasions, so that she was a big inspiration for the character.
Right.
And they are very similar. But yeah, no, power scaling wise, there's just no contest whatsoever.
Yeah, like just to use some of the other members of Ruby's battles in Death Battle, and just really quick here before we get back to Gachiakuta. Weiss versus Tifa versus Yang. That's a non-fight. Tifa is in a class of her own compared to Yang. With similar fighters, no. Mitsuru from Persona 3 versus Weiss also completely outclasses the Ruby character. Mitsuru is insane. Yes, Weiss has her stuff, but again, just two people who are associated with Frost. You know what I mean?
They're both freaking ice wielding freaking duelist heiresses.
Yeah.
So like they're similar in character, but once again, power scaling wise, like Mitsuru, even if you just consider Mitsuru during the P3 storyline, before you get into all like the shadow operatives and PQ and all the other freaking Ultimax, all that other freaking shit that happens after P3, Weiss still doesn't stand a chance. Freaking Mitsuru literally tanks a fucking atomic bomb during the P3 freaking storyline.
Yeah. So the closest, most reasonable fight that any of the Ruby cast had was Blake versus Mikasa from Attack on Titan. And yes, they're in the same ballpark, power scaling wise. You know what I mean? So
yeah, Mikasa,
that one was the one that made the most sense out of like anything like for that cast. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, Mikasa outskills her, but Blake is stronger, and then, Aura is cheating against someone who has no powers.
Yeah. So that was the closest one, but irrelevant to the Death Battle stuff and pointing out that this could be something that they would probably do. And this matchup, just based on what Domse showed off here, him versus Genis would probably be reasonably okay just after this. Maybe he shows off some more crazy stuff and it won't be fair for Genis. But that'll probably be something to do at some point just because very similar characters. You know what I mean? Just across the board.
I did look it up real fast just to clarify, because I thought that was the case, but it's Tomsy.
Oh, with a T.
Yeah, Tamsy.
Okay. Well, we all know how translation is with lettering sometimes.
Well, I'm pretty sure Delman was even saying Tomsy. It just sounds like just saying D.
Yeah, it just sounds okay. So it's with a T, so Tomsy. But yeah, again, calling it now. Death Battle, Tomsei versus Genis. It is October. What is it even? It's October 19th of 2025, and I'm calling that right now. So when that probably inevitably happens, we'll probably be one of the first people to call that. Smug on the internet about it. That's always fun, right? Being smug on the internet. But either way, I like what they did with his power, that kind of thing. It's a reasonable hard counter to what Amo is doing. And with everything that was going on in the last episode, I even forgot, like I mentioned at the end of the reaction I forgot they had the freaking buff. It was like he was the only one who remembered. It's like, even Zonka was just like, I can't believe you did that. Just like, I didn't do anything. They had a freaking invulnerability buff. You know what I mean? I got him out of dodge, and, then Engine stole her shoes, like Bronson Reed stole Roman Reigns' shoes. So I'm going to have to get him a Tribal Thief shirt. You know what I mean? So, okay. See, you guys see the sexual violence up there? At least in this, that kind of makes sense because this was vaguely BDSM.
Once again, I imagine sexual violence is probably going to be more related to once we get to her actual backstory. But once again, they should be tagging based on the episode, not based on the series.
Yeah, so you just kind of look at that and you just kind of like head scratch it a little bit. But either way, we did mention Rudo going face, and I thought that would be to like kind of like break up the whole fight. But no, this was just rage general. And what's her name?
Yeah.
The receptionist was talking to the head guy about this. Like, yeah, there's something there. You know what I mean? That's more than just whatever, and it's probably tied to his hands.
Yeah, we knew Semiyu saw something when she did her initial like analysis of him with her glasses, but this is like the first that she's like actually kind of talking about it. Because she just kind of hand waved it to Engine. Like, Engine knew something was up, but he didn't question her about it. But yeah, presumably it is something to do with whatever experiments Bruno's dad did on him.
Yep. So there's another pin and something we'll have to keep the lookout for, like what could potentially be triggering this, that kind of thing. Maybe just being... Obviously, the situation she put him through there, and he had a lot of reasonably valid points that a lot of people bring up these days. Not hitting a girl is more a honor code thing these days, as opposed to, if a woman walks up and like punches a man in the face and starts beating the shit out of him, is he not allowed to defend himself? You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things where, in this case, for Rudo, it's just... It'll be interesting to see if it's, yes, she triggered a bunch of bad memories for him, but is this going to be, was this more because she has a series item? You know what I mean? Is that the thing that triggered his curse?
I imagine the curse thing is more of just a thing of, it's probably a mixture of both, in that like it's a thing of his upbringing and all his residual anger, and then whatever experiments were done on him is probably a thing of basically like making him, it's even harder for him to actually control his emotions or something along those lines.
Yep. So we'll have to keep a lookout for that. The very real discussion. You guys see this face of realization? You guys see this? It was at that moment that Rudo realized that he fucked up. So you gotta appreciate the realization face and the very real discussion he had with Engine. I was gonna make an Aoi joke from Jujutsu Kaisen because, it was like his gimmick was, what kind of woman do you like? Whole ass thing, but Engine just kind of broad stroked it, so I couldn't make that joke. I had to let him finish his paragraph, and then I was like, well, it's not similar enough. we can't bring up Jennifer Lawrence. It's a real bummer. So yeah, either way, it will be interesting to see like what happens with this whole backstory of the situation, especially now that her tower has been pretty much destroyed. Engine already said that she's their problem, so maybe they'll try to like re-habitat her to living with normal people and kind of like bring her out of her like shattered mind state after she like tells her story. So yeah,
they're probably gonna have to make some attempt to take her in and rehabilitate her, and try to get her to at least somewhat become functional,
right? Because at the end of the day, series item is important, and with the intel she probably definitely has on the angel that goes to and from the sphere, they probably don't want to leave her out here, a series item that somebody, say like the raider leader, could show up and take from her, whatever it may be. So one of those things where you'd rather have the known possible, maybe not so much threat, contained by you as opposed to just out there by yourself, potentially being taken by your enemy, in this case, the group. So,
yeah, also like Zonka said, if we just leave her alone, other people will find her and they will die.
Yeah. So it's just preventative measures. You know what I mean? She's the cleaners are like an insurance company's nightmare scenario. It's like, what's that? You have like a small crack in your pipe? We're not going to cover that. Call us when your kitchen explodes, then we'll cover it. It's like, you realize how dumb that is? You could like give me like $300 to fix this now, or you could give me 20 grand to redo my whole kitchen when the pipe bursts. You'd rather do that? Really? That's really, really stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've told that story before, but yeah, that's something that happened for us and we did that ourselves, because that's literally what our insurance company told us, was like, no, like full Zap Brannigan. If you guys know the Zap Brannigan sketch where it's just like the ship is like exploding or whatever, and he's just like, call me when it's a catastrophe, you know, and the ship starts exploding. It's like, all right, I'll go do something about it now. I'll do something for you when it's a catastrophe. It's just a minor thing? No. Why would we pay $300 when we could pay like 20 grand? Brilliant decision making from a business perspective. So, either way, again, a little bit slower of an episode for what it was, but you know, we got Tom Say's vital instrument, very cool vital instrument, especially for what the versatility of it, actual versatility. I get to dig on WoW again, you guys. This is great. I don't get to make fun of WoW that much, but man, when we bring up versatility, I am always going to make fun of World of Warcraft. So, man, I'm having a good time. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see, like, the full extent of the capabilities of his power, but we already got a pretty good measure of what it's capable of, and if it can hold back several givers and create a drill that goes through several layers of concrete, pretty serious business, Tom. Just saying.
I mean, once again, he is one of like the upper echelon of cleaners, so he's similar to Engine. He's supposed to be out there fighting giant trash beasts, so it's got to have some considerable destructive power to it.
Yep. So that's very cool. And props to him for, you know, remembering that everybody had a buff, and if somebody's going to one-shot him, it might as well be me to stop this fight. I mean, if you have the buff, not saying you have to use an invincibility buff, but if it's on the table for a situation like this, you might as well just burn it to make the situation less worse. You know what I mean? You might as well use it. It's there to be used. So, yeah, either way. And they know that the new caster's power functions. So,
yeah.
You know, they had to field test it. You had to know. Pretty messed up way to do it, but I mean, now you know. Worst case scenario, they have to pull the rebar out of Rudo, and the rest of them, yeah, they'd probably be massively injured, but what's her name, the healer back home, could probably help them out. So it's just going to be a fairly interesting situation here with everybody's past trauma, especially, again, like they mentioned, when you wake up from something like that, it's like you lost your loved one all over again. So at some point, we'll probably get Rio's situation as well, because she's not looking too happy, as well as Full. So, Follow. So we'll just have to see. There's a lot of stuff to get to, obviously. So the next major thing is Amo's backstory, I'd assume, based on what they're setting up. So
yeah, Amo's backstory and whatever she knows about getting to and from the sphere, which, as I said, I already know some info about that. It'll be interesting to see if what she has to say has anything to do with what I know, or if that's not until way later, because I don't have any context for when that information becomes relevant. I just know what some of the information about that is.
Got it. So, yep, that's all I got for this week. Reasonable enough episode. We got a cool new giver power, vital instrument, that kind of thing. A little bit more on Rudo's curse, you know. So, yeah, stuff is occurring, and it's interesting. I know, that is brilliant analysis by me, you guys. But, you know, sometimes you just gotta be blunt to the point and not make things just hyper convoluted and use words that people don't understand.
Yeah. The one other random thing that got brought up was the whole thing of like Amo not being able to use her instrument if she doesn't have both. We don't know if that is just a thing in general for people who have a pair of instruments, or if that's a series specific thing. We still yet to actually see if any of the series items are capable of being wielded by anyone else. The only people we've seen so far are. I did actually end up re-looking at like the picture of him and stuff like that to get more of like an actual look at him. But the Raider boss, it's a coat.
It's a coat. Okay.
So we don't know anything about him really, just apart from the fact that he has another series item. But from what we've seen with Amo and Rudo, they both do have very strong connections to their series items, like a proper vital instrument. So we still don't really know if the series items are capable of being wielded by anyone or what. We just know that they were created at some point for some specific purpose that sets them apart. And so far, we've only seen people who have a normal giver instrument connection with them.
Yep. So more cool and interesting things on the table. I'm not going to rehash my Friar versus solo leveling discussion from Dan to Dan. I think we all know things should have stood in that. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, people of YouTube, beyond however you're watching, we always appreciate you stopping by and hanging with us here in the dojo for more Anime Night in the dojo. And this was Gachiakuta, Season 1, Episode 12. So this is going to continue, obviously, because this is 2 cores, so Gachiakuta will remain on Thursday, and every other show that we're doing will be replaced by something else, because everything else wraps up this week. So we got MHA on the table, final season. Spy Family, new season. Excited for that one. It's been 2 years. And we'll be doing Campfire Cooking in Another World, which I enjoyed that first season, so we figured we'd add it to the roster because that is coming out right now. And we also have Has Been Hotel Season 2 coming out at some point here in the next week or so. So I don't know if that will be on the schedule immediately next week, but we'll just have to see. But we have all kinds of stuff. We got to wrap up Peacemaker, and yeah, we'll probably have more than the usual Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Monday based on this season. Have kinds of stuff that we want to do as well. So Gachiakuta will remain, but everything else will be being replaced since everything else is wrapping up. So luckily we don't have to do a wrap-up episode for Gachiakuta this week, so that saves us a little bit of a hassle. So yay. But we'll be starting all new shows next week as well. So again, Gachiakuta will be here, but it will be joined by things like My Hero Academia, Spy Family, and whatnot. So look forward to that. So yes.
And from what they've said, freaking, it sounds like Has Been is going to... The end of Has Been is just going to lead straight into the start of the next season of Helluva. Yep. So that's just going to kind of continue.
Indeed. All Vivzy all the time on one of those days. So anyway, everybody, as always, we appreciate you. Have a good morning, evening, afternoon, whatever it is for you. And have a good one. And we'll see you next time.
Hey everyone, Victoria here. If you enjoyed the video, please consider pushing those like and subscribe buttons. Your support is greatly appreciated. Thanks again for your time, and we hope to see you again in the future.